Once again, I want to thank everybody. My name is Alan Benjamin. I'm one of the members of the organizing committee of the conference. And I'm also here representing and organizing on behalf of the San Francisco Labor Council, which has endorsed, supported, and has been a voice, a progressive voice in the labor movement for many years, fighting for single-payer health care, fighting for sanctuary city, fighting for immigrant rights, fighting against and for canceling NAFTA, fighting for cross-border organizing, embracing the boycott, the Driscoll's boycott, and so many other important things. It's a voice we're often called the voice of the labor on the left coast, but we have helped to move the discussion in the labor movement around immigrant rights, the resolution that was adopted in 1998 around stopping the war and ending the war and coming out against war spending. So we have a program tonight which I'd like to suggest we do in honor of a sister who many of us worked with, Gemma Lopez Limon. It's not often that I do this, but this was a sister who meant so much to all of us, Nativo, Al, the folks in Tlaxcala, myself, and many others who worked with her. She died a number of years ago, but she was the personification of cross-border organizing in the fight against NAFTA. She was somebody who embraced the struggle, who lived the struggle with optimism and a love and a passion for people that she worked with in the maquilas, in the university. She came from a rail worker family, and when they dismantled the rail industry in Mexico, it was the destruction of a union and of a community, and she understood the displacement of folks. So this is, I just urge people just to read the little biography about Gemma and her statement that she presented at the state capitol at a hearing in Sacramento a number of years ago. Before we begin, a quick announcement. You saw, everybody today saw the important, a really very moving tribute to Urbano. I was about to say Ubaldo. To Urbano in the song that Valdemar Velázquez sang. Organizing is about money. Organizing is about commitment. We have some wonderful videos by Águila Negra, Valdemar. It's $20, so I just urge everybody. We have 5 left, so get your copy tonight. I have them here. And another quick announcement.
I'm very sorry, Jim. I'm Jim Laverty. I had left something right here, my speech for tonight, plus a number of personal papers that had a New York Times in it as well. On top of it was sitting one of the little translating machines. I understand that's been turned in. Whoever found those odd translating machines that was sitting perhaps on my materials, I'm wondering if anyone is here that turned those machines in. And if so, if they know what might have happened to the papers.
You look around.
I've looked everywhere. I don't want to hold them. I've looked everywhere. I mean, I've looked absolutely everywhere. Well, except where it is. As I will say, I haven't looked everywhere because it's somewhere. Well, there was a folder like that, but there was also a manila folder in which was conference materials and a speech and a New York Times, and then there were a bunch of flyers from the table with it, and so forth and so on, and one of those yellow things.
In the trash can around the conference.
Well, unfortunately, the trash cans at this point have a lot of food on top of them. I'll take another look.
Okay, well, we'll do, please, everybody look around, help out if you can. It'd be important. We, just as far as the program, the workshops scheduled, the 3rd session will be moved till tomorrow, along with the reports from the workshops, so that the people who presented can prepare their notes, can prepare the summaries so that we can have a more productive discussion tomorrow. The meeting tomorrow is not here. The meeting tomorrow is at the office at the headquarters, the Hall of the United Steelworkers of America. Oh, we got one sale. And the address is 1200 East 220th Street in Carson. I understand it's not far from here. It's the Hall of the United Steelworkers. Tonight we have two speakers who did not get to speak in the morning, and they're going to be the priority speakers in terms of the order of speakers tonight. And I'm very proud to have, and for all of us to listen to the important message from these very important union and activists who are here with us. Our first speaker tonight is Susana Prieto Terrazas, who's an attorney, drove all the way here from El Paso, Texas. Wow. And is going to drive all the way back. And who's an organizer, an attorney, and organizer with the Maquiladora women workers in Ciudad Juárez. Her story is an amazing story, her courage beyond anything I could ever dream of. So, welcome. Gracias, Susana, por estar aquí con nosotros.
Muchas gracias. Aquí hay dinero que podría robarme, pero no lo haré. Bien, lamento mucho que después de haber estado tan concurrido esta reunión de nosotros el día de hoy terminara con tan poca gente, pero sí estuvo maratónico, ¿no? Creo que estamos aquí los que no nos podemos ir a ningún otro lado. Los que tenían casa ya se fueron. Trataré de ser lo más amena posible, puesto que cuando uno está cansado y algunos no tienen traductor, ya ni van por él. A ver a qué horas termina. Yo soy Susana Prieto. Yo soy Susana Prieto, fui operadora de maquiladora en los 80s en Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua. Cuando se abría una vacante para trabajar de operadora en una maquiladora y había una línea de 2000 personas peleando esa vacante, porque la industria maquiladora pagaba 3 salarios mínimos a los operadores de maquila, iniciando los 80. Ahora paga unos centavos arriba del salario mínimo establecido por el gobierno mexicano. Y el pretexto de la maquiladora es que no es su culpa, es el gobierno mexicano quien establece el salario mínimo. Y ellos son tan nobles y tan bondadosos que pagan más. Mire, si cree que me los voy a robar, viene por su dinero. Bueno, entonces ahora a las trabajadoras, por supuesto que al ganar 100 pesos diarios y tener 3 hijos, 4 o 5, pues la industria maquiladora está condenando a sus operadoras a vivir en la miseria, con un cómplice muy poderoso, con varios tentáculos, con muchos tentáculos, el gobierno mexicano. Había mucha desesperación en mí porque provengo de una familia muy humilde, tuve muchas oportunidades, me hice abogada, tener conciencia de clase era medio ajeno para mí en alguna etapa de mi vida. Y después en otra me volví bastante roja y muy detestable para mi papá. Pero el caso es que decía, ¿cómo ayudo yo a estas mujeres? Yo no podía creer, escuchaba los discursos de los gringos, algunos de ellos los capitalistas, diciendo que habían ido a México a quitarnos el hambre, que gracias a ellos teníamos que comer, que no solo nos daban trabajo, dijo un CEO del Lexmark, les doy de tragar también. Fue una entrevista para el 88.5 del radio en AM que se transmitió en El Paso, Texas. Y cuando yo escuché a este hombre detestable dije, bueno, ¿y qué les dan de comer? Porque solemos escuchar historias y no profundizarlas. Pues les dan de comer frijoles y sopa y papas, y nos generan un problema de salud terrible en México. Tenemos trabajadoras y trabajadores diabéticos, hipertensos, por la comida que les dan. ¿Y cómo les van a dar mejor comida? Porque luego dice ese mismo gringo: yo no soy el que hace la comida, para eso le pago a un concesionario de cafetería, pero le paga 31 pesos por trabajador, por 2 comidas por turno, todo lo que el trabajador se pueda comer. ¿Qué le pueden dar de comer a un trabajador con 31 pesos diarios? 31 pesos diarios son $2. Entonces dejó de ser negocio y solo entran al negocio de las concesiones de cafetería las personas que les dan frijoles, papas y sopa de comer a los trabajadores. A los trabajadores, a los que obligan, al igual que a ustedes, trabajadores de Estados Unidos, a cubrir un estándar de producción. 1.700 piezas por hora, ¿les suena? 3.800 piezas por turno, o te vas. Pasa lo mismo en México, solo que ustedes ganan $8.5 por hora o más. Y allá los trabajadores perciben 100 pesos al día. El problema de salud que está generando la industria maquiladora está establecido a los 35 años cuando bien les va, porque inician el trabajo a los 16 y a los 35 tienen casi 20 años de antigüedad laborando para la industria maquiladora. Por eso a los 35 años usted ya no le sirve a la industria. Ni siquiera ose llenar una solicitud o hacer línea, porque para usted no hay trabajo. Si tiene suerte de que como el año pasado tuvieran un déficit de 17,000 empleados, porque ya los millennials no quieren trabajar por 100 pesos diarios, entonces la maquiladora se vio en un gran problema también, ¿no? Y dijeron, ¿qué hacemos? Y entonces ahora reciben a los millennials que les pagan 200 pesos diarios, y a la trabajadora que tiene 15 años de antigüedad le siguen pagando 100, porque esa trabajadora ya está domesticada, porque esa trabajadora sabe que a los 35 años ya no va a conseguir trabajo en ninguna otra fábrica, porque esa trabajadora sabe que no tiene capacidad de organizarse, porque no tiene ni dinero ni tiempo para organizarse. Porque en estas cadenas de esclavitud que ha generado la industria maquiladora en México han previsto todo, el más mínimo detalle. Las construcciones de la industria maquiladora están hechas como los centros de readaptación social en México, que son cárceles para ustedes. Están rodeados de barrotes y hay casetas con guardias de seguridad y perros cada cierto número de metros. Y luego los divide el estacionamiento 1,5 kilómetros o 2 hasta llegar a la nave industrial. Ningún trabajador ni ninguna persona externa a la empresa entra o sale sin autorización del Departamento de Recursos Humanos. El trabajador puede estar enfermo y si no obtiene el permiso no sale. Ahí que se muera, total muerte natural. No fue riesgo de trabajo. El gobierno es cómplice de las maquiladoras en todos los sentidos. El Instituto Mexicano del Seguro Social es un organismo descentralizado de gobierno, y las enfermedades de trabajo que se producen por los movimientos repetitivos a las trabajadoras y que fundamentalmente son el daño en los túneles del carpo, sus muñecas, sus codos, los mangos de rotadores de los hombros que les dejan inmovilizadas con las extremidades superiores, y a los trabajadores de las vestiduras automotrices también las extremidades inferiores. Trabajan 12 horas diarias, entonces utilizan la pierna derecha para mover el pedal, y con esta alimentación que les dan de papas, frijoles, sopa, eso sí, mucha tortilla, ¿sí?, envenenada, como lo vimos hace un rato, entonces ellos cargan todo su peso del cuerpo hacia el lado izquierdo porque están pedaleando su alta estándar de producción con el derecho, y tenemos caderas dislocadas, rodillas dislocadas, columna vertebral dañada desde las cervicales hasta las L4, L5 y L6. Un problema de salud gravísimo. Pero un trabajador que tiene necesidad de mantener a sus hijos no piensa tanto como usted ni como yo. Hay que llevar de tragar, porque los niños tienen la mala costumbre de comer 3 veces al día, haya o no haya. Entonces no se piensa se contratan. Y se contratan y no importa que les pidan estándar de producción y que sea inconstitucional en México porque allá trabajamos por jornada. La primera gran mentira dicha por la industria maquiladora es que no pueden pagar más del mínimo. Nosotros en la Constitución y en la propia Ley Federal del Trabajo manejamos el pago por a destajo, que es según lo que usted produce. Produces mucho, te pago más. Produces menos, te pago menos. Entonces ellos no tendrían por qué estar pagándole el salario mínimo ni por encimita del salario mínimo a los trabajadores de la industria maquiladora, que como dije en nuestra reunión hace un rato, no son maquileros, son manufactureros. Porque ya los trabajadores de Ciudad Juárez le realizan operaciones de ingeniería sumamente complejas. Tiene usted computadoras enfrente y el trabajador está leyendo los planos de ingeniería y realizando las operaciones que le piden la industria automotriz de Estados Unidos o bien de Japón o China. Tenemos cadenas de miseria y yo dije un día, bueno, ¿y cómo le van a hacer los trabajadores para organizarse y luchar si ni siquiera se pueden hablar? Las líneas de producción tienen una distancia. No se puede explicar ni en 5 ni en 7 minutos lo que pasa con la industria maquiladora en Ciudad Juárez. No se puede. ¿Cómo le hacemos para luchar? Tenemos otro enemigo, el abaratamiento de costos, capitalismo nuevamente. Cuando el gringo se sale de la administración de las maquilas en México, deja a los mexicanos, que bien dicho sea de paso son nuestros peores verdugos, y le dicen, te voy a dar un bono del 10% anual de tu salario por abaratamiento de costos. ¿Quién paga el abaratamiento de costos? El obrero. El primer movimiento que surgió en la industria maquiladora en Ciudad Juárez fue en junio del 2015 y no fue el Exmar, que el Exmar fue el que catapultamos gracias a que fue el Papa a visitarnos a Juárez y que es el que casi todo el mundo conoce, pero fue uno anterior, Eaton. ¿Por qué se inconformaron esos obreros? Eran 37 hombres, lo cual me parecía sumamente raro, porque son más collones que las mujeres. Pero eran 37 hombres que llegaron al despacho y que dijeron, es que no podemos más. De 1 a 4 de la tarde apagan los aires acondicionados. Las maquilas están construidas de cemento y arriba tienen lámina. Y nosotros estamos en el desierto. Y apagan el aire de 1 a 4 para ahorrar costos. Y los trabajadores se estaban deshidratando. Y así empezó el primer movimiento que catapultó el movimiento de la industria maquiladora en Ciudad Juárez. Esos 37 trabajadores decidieron demandar a la empresa y la empresa en represalia les retuvo su salario de 2 semanas. Estaban desesperados porque no podían ir a un juicio y esperar, viven al día. Si ganan 700 pesos a la semana, usted no puede llegar el viernes a decir que se tomó una caguama. Eso lo tiene que hacer si trabaja tiempo extra y siempre y cuando su esposa no vea el recibo. ¿Qué hacemos? Necesitamos el salario, pues vamos a exigir que nos paguen el salario. ¿Cómo vamos a hacer? Pues no nos vamos a mover de aquí. Digo, de esas que se me ocurrió porque me la saqué de la manga. Uno cuando no tiene elementos con qué luchar, pues digo, tiene que ser innovador. Y nos pusimos y vivimos 18 días afuera de la planta a las 24 horas. No nos bañamos en 18 días. Convocamos a la prensa y pedimos a Ciudad Juárez que ayudara a los trabajadores, porque tenía que terminar la esclavitud, porque el mundo tenía que saber cómo nos tenían esclavizados en la industria maquiladora en Ciudad Juárez y que lo que los gringos decían no era lo que nos estaban dando. Y fue una denuncia pública, por eso me llamó la atención que el compañero dijera que teníamos que convertirnos en reporteros. Yo tengo 2 años haciendo reportajes de trabajadores en el Facebook. Nomás que no tengo quien los traduzca al inglés, pero aquí hay mucha gente de hoy que habla perfecto inglés y perfecto español. Entonces yo sumaría a la propuesta del compañero que no solamente nos convirtiéramos en ese reportero, sino que hubiera un comité de traducción para que los trabajadores mexicanos y los norteamericanos tengan retroalimentación. Esa retroalimentación que parece tan lejana por la barrera del lenguaje. Que tengamos traducción y que un trabajador mexicano sepa que un trabajador gringo sufre lo mismo o peor que él, y viceversa. Entonces, nosotros hicimos esto y en esos 18 días ustedes no tienen la menor idea de la solidaridad de la ciudadanía. Teníamos 317,000 empleados en la maquiladora en junio del 2015 Eran vehículos y vehículos que paraban y dejaban burritos y dejaban aguas y dejaban refrescos y dejaban frijoles, y se le hacía un nudo en la garganta y se le aventaban los tanates hacia hasta la garganta, y decía uno, porque todos dejaban el agua y dejaban el burrito, y decían, y no se dejen, y no se rajen, y no se dejen. Y a partir de ahí surgió el movimiento maquilador. En junio del 2015, Obreros Maquileros de Juárez, asociación civil. No hemos parado desde entonces. Después de Eaton vino Foxconn, que hace Apple, ¿no? Y lo denunciamos también internacionalmente. Vino también la otra sección de Eaton, que no era Eaton International, era Eaton Bussmann. Vino ADC, que les sonará a ustedes como Comscope. Y vinieron 4 maquilas al mismo tiempo, y vino el Papa Juárez. Y cuando nos tenían sofocados y el gobierno solo hablaba y usted leía los periódicos y se metía al Google y ponía Susana Prieto, y mi hija, que apenas hablaba español, me decía, oye, ¿qué es una extorsionadora? Dije, la madre ya leyó de mí. Porque el gobierno decía que era una extorsionadora, que los trabajadores no debían dejarse engañar por mí, que todo lo que ustedes se puedan imaginar se decía de mí, porque tuve una sola osadía: defender trabajadores en contra del capitalismo. Tuvimos que confrontar la infamia, tuvimos que confrontar el dolor de las trabajadoras del Lexmark, que vivieron 5 meses y medio en el más cruel de los fríos, en el desierto, afuera de la planta, denunciando las irregularidades que el Lexmark, la planta que no se admite en ninguna parte del mundo, empezando por Estados Unidos por el alto contaminante, hacía en contra de sus obreras. Yo acudí a esto porque me habló Alan, y me voy a tomar un poco de minutos más, y quizás no venga mañana y no tenga intervención, y me como los minutos de mañana ahorita y ya no los veo, y les pido una disculpa anticipada por esto. Las trabajadoras del Lexmark no merecen 7 minutos, ni 5, ni 4. Es el movimiento más importante que ha habido en México durante los últimos 60 años. Trabajadoras que sufrieron no solo las inclemencias del tiempo, sino que fueron perseguidas. El primer video que hicimos, compañero, fue cuando llegaron agentes ministeriales, la policía municipal y los judiciales a rodearnos, y que sacaron a los operadores de producción de la maquila a rastras, porque hicieron un paro laboral de 5 días, 700 trabajadores, y pararon la producción de esa empresa explotadora y altamente contaminante. Yo sabía en octubre del 2016 que el teléfono tenía un botón verde para recibir llamadas y uno rojo para colgar. Pero me había enterado por mis hijos del Facebook. No supe qué hacer cuando llegaron y nos rodearon, y lo que hice fue decirle a una asistente mía que tenía 20 años, le dije, ¿usted sabe usar esta madre? Sí, grábeme. Y sacamos un video pidiendo ayuda al mundo que tuvo 500,000 de reproducciones. Y recibimos solidaridad de Tijuana, y recibimos solidaridad de Mexicali, y conocimos a los compañeros del boicot Driscoll, compañeros de San Quintín en lucha. Teníamos 2 meses de diferencia en ambas luchas, y decidimos que no nos íbamos a dejar. Y para lo que quiero utilizar de alguna forma esto, porque yo no soy nadie, yo no tengo experiencia en la lucha. Aquí yo me he dado cuenta que ustedes son verdaderos expertos en lucha de trabajadores. Yo no soy nadie. Pero esas trabajadoras del Lexmark terminaron porque el gobierno les negó 4 veces la constitución de su sindicato independiente. La última vez se los negó porque había un error ortográfico al denominar Lexmark. Mi secretaria puso la M antes que la X. Entonces la autoridad dijo que en el proemio del escrito decía Lexmark y en el final decía Lexmark, y por lo tanto no había certeza de cuál empresa era la que quería constituir el sindicato. Esas mamadas pasan en México, con tal de no permitir la constitución de un sindicato independiente. No estoy hablando de los sindicatos blancos, de los organismos descentralizados del Estado. Esos son los que la clase media, compañero que me corrigió hace un rato, permiten por conveniencia. Los del Seguro Social, el Sindicato Nacional de los Trabajadores de la Educación, el Sindicato de Petróleos Mexicanos, el Sindicato de la Comisión Federal de Electricidad, el sindicato mismo de los telefonistas que nunca mueven un solo dedo por los jodidos. Ellos son sindicatos de mota alta y no se ocupan de nosotros, o cuando pedimos ayuda me dicen, ¿pero cuántos tiene? Pues la empresa tiene 2,000 empleados, ¿pero cuántos andan con ustedes? 76. No nos haga perder nuestro tiempo. No, sí, yo tenía entendido que constituir una unión, un sindicato, era trabajar, jalar, concientizar, informar a los trabajadores, hacer conciencia, arroparlos, que supieran a qué van. Pues si se trata de un sindicato blanco, pues ahí tenemos a la CTM y a la CROC. ¿Para qué vamos a hacer tanto aspaviento nosotros? Pues los metieron ahí a la CTM para variar a nuestra carpa. No pudimos hacer más y después de 5 meses y medio las trabajadoras no resistieron. Los maridos las querían divorciar, los hijos pedían a su mamá en su casa, tuvimos que trabajar, pedimos limosna, abrimos un GoFundMe. Si ya estoy, qué bárbara, he aprendido de todo. Para tratar de mantener durante 5 meses y medio el movimiento de la dignidad. Y no pudimos. Nos vencieron y un día los trabajadores dijeron, la empresa ofrece pagarnos nuestras indemnizaciones y por nosotros nos quedaríamos, pero la familia nos reclama. Y así terminó el Lexmark, con el pago de las indemnizaciones de los trabajadores. Nunca se sumó un solo trabajador, fueron los mismos 76, porque nos tenían igual que tenían en el porfiriato a los campesinos que los colgaban para escarmiento de los demás y se indisciplinaban. Así estábamos nosotros en la carpa, los 76 y yo 77. Y ni un trabajador se sumó. Y por el contrario, aprendí en ese movimiento que el peor enemigo del trabajador es otro trabajador. Y que al luchador social que no admite este hecho tan doloroso no puede avanzar en la lucha. Hay que chingarle y admitir que el primero que nos va a traicionar es otro trabajador. Y si por eso nos vamos a retirar, no estamos listos para luchar. Las trabajadoras del Lexmark se están muriendo. Ya voy a terminar. Se murió primero la madre. La madre era una chica de 59 años de edad que no estaba metida en el movimiento sindical. La corrieron como daño colateral. Le decíamos la madre porque tenía 59 años y era la más rookies de todas. Se murió hace 1 mes y medio de enfisema pulmonar. La madre fumaba y todos atribuimos su cáncer pulmonar a su consumo de tabaco. Aunque no era tanto, pero fumaba. 2 meses después de sepultarla cayó María Durán, que trabajaba en la misma área de producción que la madre. Los contaminantes del tóner son altamente cancerígenos. Usted le pone tóner al Google y inmediatamente le aparece cáncer por todos lados. El gobierno mexicano no va a hacer nada por unas pinches operadoras que no valen 3 centavos. Y el gobierno americano va a querer excluir su responsabilidad, aunque esa empresa es filial de otra norteamericana. No tenemos dinero suficiente para hacerle exámenes a las trabajadoras del Lexmark. Tenemos 4 casos de cáncer. No usan ni siquiera mascarillas de seguridad. ¿Saben cuál es el trabajo de las trabajadoras del Lexmark, si usted tiene una impresora en su oficina, en su casa, sabe que los cartuchos de tóner ya no funcionan aunque les quede un polvito, ¿verdad? Que cometemos la estupidez muy seguido nosotros de sacarlo y estarle dando y pícale poquito más porque está cerrada la papelería y luego lo vuelve uno a meter a ver si da poquito el tóner y por lo menos imprime lo que está uno haciendo de momento. Las trabajadoras del Lexmark reciben esos cartuchos. No sé si en Estados Unidos, pero me imagino que sí. En México nosotros no podemos tirar a la basura los cartuchos de tóner. Tenemos que regresárselos al distribuidor. Esos cartuchos de tóner que quedan un polvo en ellos, las trabajadoras, ese polvo se hace piedra y llegan a un lugar que se llaman las toneras. Y ahí ponen el tóner y ¡pah! Le pegan al cartucho. Sale el tóner para todos lados. No tienen mascarillas, inhalan el tóner. Hay trabajadores que sangran por la nariz de tanto tóner que inhalan durante su jornada de trabajo. Si de veras estamos hablando de solidaridad en esta reunión binacional que es tan importante, yo le pido a ustedes que viven en el primer mundo que me ayuden a conseguir un abogado y un químico que nos ayuden a llegar a la verdad con la empresa Lexmark y las operadoras que están muriendo de cáncer. Yo no voy a poder sola. Y las trabajadoras tienen pánico. Porque para aventarse una bronca en contra de una maquila uno tiene que dejar de trabajar y ¿quién le va a mantener a los hijos? Eso lo puedo hacer yo. Pero si Lexmark es una filial de una gran empresa que tiene su principal asiento de negocios aquí, en Kentucky, yo pienso que nosotros debemos de actuar, que quienes decimos que somos defensores de trabajadores y que hay que luchar por los trabajadores en cualquier lugar del mundo donde se encuentren, somos corresponsables de lo que está pasando en México, en San Quintín, en los campos, o en los campos de concentración que son las maquiladoras ahora, o aquí mismo, en Estados Unidos. Solo voy a pedir ayuda para ellas. Y si conocen a un abogado de lo laboral aquí en Estados Unidos para demandar a esa empresa. No hay ni cubrebocas siquiera en Lexmark. Y después de haberles hecho un conflicto de 5 meses y medio y de haberlos denunciado ante el mundo entero, porque gracias a la visita del Papa llegaron reporteros del The Guardian, del Le Monde de Francia, del País de España, fuimos súper famosos. Tengo ahí revistas de entrevistas que nos han hecho en alemán que ni entiendo qué dicen. A lo mejor dicen lo mismo que los periódicos mexicanos y yo muy contentada. La responsabilidad de los trabajadores deben asumirla los patrones, pero ustedes y yo sabemos que no van a asumirla mientras los trabajadores no se organicen. Y también sabemos que el capitalismo le mete todo el dinero y más a que los trabajadores no se organicen. Así como han arropado la lucha de San Quintín, les pido que arropen la lucha de las trabajadoras que están muriendo en Lexmark. Muchas gracias.
Compañera Susana, creo poder hablar en nombre mío, del compañero A, del compañero nativo y del resto del comité organizador de la conferencia, que esta participación de la compañera tiene que desembocar en una campaña organizada en defensa de las trabajadoras de la maquila. ¿Nos comprometemos con esta campaña, sí o no, compañeros? Sí. ¿Nos comprometemos con ese mismo afán que le hemos metido a la campaña por views, el boicot y la campaña que hemos desarrollado con Driscoll's? ¿Tenemos esa convicción? Porque si no, no estamos acá comprendiendo lo que está diciendo la compañera. Se tiene que asumir esta responsabilidad porque, y yo quizá discrepe en una cosa, es el gobierno de Estados Unidos al imponer el TLCAN, es esta compañía al imponer las condiciones de carcelación y de esclavitud la responsable, y no los trabajadores que están sometidos a las enormes presiones causadas por este país, por este gobierno y por estas empresas. Para nosotros la responsabilidad es acá en este país y tenemos que denunciar esa política, tenemos que luchar contra esa política y hacemos ese compromiso con usted, compañera Susana. ¿Se puede? Sí, se puede. Se puede. Y vamos a buscar ese abogado. Para mí yo no había escuchado, yo no había estado al tanto, como quizá muchos de nosotros, de la gravedad de esta lucha. Le agradecemos su participación, compañera. Inclusive 20 minutos o 30 no es suficiente, pero vamos a organizar, quizá empezando por una gira, ir allá a entrevistar y a ayudar a sacar la verdad y trabajar con las compañeras. ¿Ok? Muchas gracias. Bueno. Our next speaker comes from Chicago. Vice President of a UAW local. I had not met Brother Holdison, but I was very honored to be able to hear him. And I want to call him up to speak, to talk to us about your union, your struggle, United Auto Workers, Local 555, Vice President Scott Holdison. And after, I'm going to have Valdemar come up and say a few words. Brother Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan. I'm very humbled to be here, and especially following that incredible, inspiring story that we just heard. But humility is not what we need right now. We need action. We need bold action. And it's time that we came together in the trade union movement to create some of that intensity that we once had. We once had the fight. We need to bring that back. We need to bring that back. It's been too long that the corporate masters have had control. They've taken control away from our union movement. They've co-opted our union movement. Many of our union leaders, so-called leaders, now work side by side with the company more than they do with the workers on the plant floor. The corporatism that we're facing today is capitalism on steroids. NAFTA was an agreement, it's not a trade agreement, it's an agreement to give corporations power, immense power, more power than they've ever had in the history of the world. It gives them the power greater than the elected governments of the people. It gives them the power to pit workers against one another across borders. NAFTA and CAFTA and the Trans-Pacific Partnership and the World Trade Organization, they're all organized to break down the borders, the barriers to capitalism, to trade for the global corporations, so that they can increase their profits to immeasurable levels. At the same time, we're erecting borders to one another. We're putting up borders between us, between our countries, between the workers that actually provide the profits that these corporations are sucking out of us. These trade agreements have been horrendous for workers in all the countries that they come across. NAFTA has been difficult for workers in all the countries. It's also been disastrous for our communities. When a corporation pulls up that's been there for decades. For instance, in Chicago, the Nabisco Corporation, been there for 100 years making cookies. Mondelez bought that company and moved the production, half of the production from that factory to Mexico. Instead of making cookies in Mexico and in Chicago, making the cookies in Mexico and giving a wage where the Mexican workers can afford to buy those cookies, no, they pull the jobs out of Chicago and put them down to Mexico and pitting the workers against one another across the borders. So that cripples our communities. It cripples the base of us to be able to work together. It also, NAFTA and these other trade agreements have destroyed our environments. When a company can sue a country because their environmental laws are too strict, and take our taxpayer dollars in exchange for that lawsuit, and it's not even in our courts. It's in an international tribunal, one that's staffed by their corporate attorneys. So we need to fight. We need to come together and fight against these corporations, and you know their power comes from their money, and as they accumulate more money, that money then in turn gets used to create more power. They buy politicians. And if they can't buy the politicians, they go and buy the people that are put on the boards to oversee them. They buy the people that are overseeing the Food and Drug Administration. They buy the people that are overseeing the EPA.
That's right.
So how do we combat that? For me personally, I see that what we need in this world is not a minimum wage. We need a maximum wage.
That's right.
When people make too much money, they do bad things with it.
That's right.
They take that money and they use it to corrupt the system so that they can get more money. And it's a never-ending cycle. So we need to put a cap on the wages that corporations and the ultra-rich can steal from us. Those gains ultimately come from the work of us. So in order to do that, we're going to have to organize. We're going to have to organize globally. The corporations have beat us to the punch on this a long time ago. We're well behind on this organizing effort. But we've caught up before. You know, the labor movement in the 1930s knew how to get things done. The workers fought. But we're going to have to retake our own organizations first before we can fight the global fight. In the UAW, we've seen instances just recently, just this last year, where the vice president that was in charge of negotiations with Fiat Chrysler was on the tape. He was working with the head of labor relations at Fiat Chrysler to take money out of the joint program funds that were supposed to be training workers. They were taking the money and putting it in their pocket, buying houses, buying condos, going on nice vacations, buying $37,000 pens. So we need to get the corruption out of our unions in order to take this fight on. And that means we need to organize the rank and file.
Yes.
So we can't give up on the fight, and we have to keep fighting. But let me tell you something. This fight is not something that we can look at as something that we can win. We're not going to ever win, have an ultimate win. We might win the battle here, we might win a battle there, but the corporations and the greedy people are always going to be coming back for more. So we cannot let up.
That's right.
So we need to understand that no victory is permanent. Every victory is temporary. Organizing cannot end. Once we win, we have to fight some more. We have to maintain our gains. So the fight for social and economic justice goes on. And that's why we started in October at a conference much like this in Chicago. We started what's known as the Workers' Solidarity Action Network.
Woo! Yeah.
This is a mechanism for us to be able to talk to one another all around the country and get our stories out there. The powerful story that we just heard from our sister from Mexico, from right across the border from Texas. That powerful story isn't getting out there. It will now. It will now, brothers and sisters, it will now. So I want everyone that's here, if you haven't done it already, the Workers' Solidarity Action Network has a Facebook page and a Facebook group. Like the page and join the group. We're working on a website. And through these mechanisms, we'll be able to share our stories and come to the aid of workers when workers are in struggle. That's the only way that we're ever going to win this battle, is by coming together as workers. So with that, I'll conclude my statements. And I want to thank you very much for inviting us here. The fight goes on.
Thank you, Brother Scott. The words of action and solidarity and networking, that's what we're about. This is an organizers conference. It's to, we've had workshops, we're going to continue them. The organizing is going to continue and go on and deepen. This is one step. We hope it's an important step. We're going to join you in the effort to continue this fight. And we're going to join together, all of us, around Lexmark, around Views, and J.R. Reynolds, British Tobacco, and around Driscoll's. Because as we do that, we bring these folk, everybody together in struggle. And we build organization. That's what we're about. Our next speaker, it's hard for me to believe that he's even here with us, just having had a hip replacement. But he's very committed to helping us understand what globalization means and how to fight it. He's a professor at UC Santa Barbara and Department on Globalization. You'll explain it's a long name for your department, but professor and fighter, activist, William I. Robinson. Welcome. Welcome.
Buenas noches, todos y todas. Quiero comenzar con un grito de solidaridad desde lejos a nuestros hermanos y hermanas en Honduras, casi insurreccionados, están enfrentando en estos momentos, mientras nosotros reunidos aquí, al fraude electoral, un estado de sitio, una feroz represión de los órganos del Estado y una dictadura civil militar cada vez más bestial, brutal y despiadada.
¡Que viva Honduras!
¡Que viva! ¡Que viva Honduras!
¡Que viva la lucha en Honduras!
¡Que viva! Quiero cambiar el cassette ahora y presentarles con un breve... Está en la mano. Quiero cambiar el cassette ahora y presentar un breve análisis de lo que, en mi punto de vista, en mi análisis hay detrás de la renegociación del TLCAN. 10 minutos no es mucho tiempo, así que voy a hablar en muy resumidas cuentas. Hay que entender el trumpismo, la renegociación del TLCAN y las políticas estadounidenses en el marco de lo que han sido las transformaciones en la economía norteamericana, la economía global en las últimas 2 décadas y en el contexto de la actual crisis del capitalismo global. La economía del área de América del Norte es parte integral del sistema globalizado de producción y de finanzas y de servicios que ha surgido en las últimas 3 décadas mediante la globalización capitalista. Y ahora los gobernantes norteamericanos no pretenden ni tampoco quieren retirar a Estados Unidos de la vasta red de cadenas de subcontratación y de outsourcing de este sistema. En la misma familia Trump, el gabinete de Trump, son miembros de lo que tenemos que calificar como la clase capitalista transnacional y dependen de esa red global para su imperio empresarial, al igual que los conglomerados capitalistas mexicanos, que también son parte de la clase capitalista transnacional y de la economía globalizada. Acordémonos que cuando el TLCAN entró en vigencia en 1994 y después la Organización Mundial de Comercio en el 95, apenas comenzaba la globalización capitalista. Y en ese momento la globalización giraba alrededor de lo que era la transnacionalización de la producción industrial. Es decir, la compañera hablaba de la maquila en Tijuana, se trataba ahora de generalizar el modelo maquiladora a nivel de Norteamérica, de América Latina y mundial. El objetivo en aquel entonces del tratado del TLCAN y de todos los tratados de libre comercio alrededor del mundo era crear las condiciones para montar ese sistema globalizado de producción industrial. Es decir, como ya hemos hablado, levantar las barreras nacionales al movimiento fronterizo de los bienes, remover los obstáculos para el viaje por parte de la clase capitalista transnacional de los recursos naturales, tener acceso a todos esos recursos, privatizar los sectores públicos y permitir las condiciones para una mayor intensidad de la explotación de los trabajadores. En resumidas cuentas, cuando negociaron el TLCAN a principios del 90, estaban buscando liberar al capital transnacional de cualquier encierro nacional y cualquier presión popular desde abajo. Pero cuando fue negociado a principios de los años 90, las compañías más grandes en Estados Unidos eran automotriz, electrodomésticos y máquinas herramientas. Pero ya las cosas han cambiado. En el siglo XXI, sobre todo en la última década, hemos visto la transnacionalización de los servicios, es decir, la emergencia que es lo que ahora estamos llamando la economía digital. Esto incluyendo las comunicaciones, la informática, la tecnología de plataforma, el comercio electrónico, los servicios financieros. Entonces, esta economía digital ahora está en la vanguardia de la economía capitalista global. Y las mega corporaciones digitales como Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, etc., junto con la banca transnacional y el capital financiero que cada vez está más especulativo, ocupa el eje dominante de lo que es el capitalismo global ahora. Y desde Estados Unidos impulsan el capitalismo digital ahora. Tomemos nota de que las exportaciones de servicios es el renglón que más rápidamente crece a nivel mundial y en particular en este caso que estamos analizando aquí en Estados Unidos. Estados Unidos registró el año pasado un déficit comercial de 715 mil millones de dólares con el mundo entero. Sin embargo, tuvo un superávit de 250 mil millones de dólares en venta de servicios. Y con México en particular, Estados Unidos registró un déficit de 64 mil millones de dólares en concepto de bienes con México, pero un superávit de 7 mil millones de dólares en comercio de servicios. Y en un momento regreso a ese punto, pero también quiero señalar una cosa, de cuando hablamos, porque hay que distinguir aquí entre el discurso público y la esencia, la quintesencia de lo que está pasando aquí. Entonces, cuando hablamos de exportaciones de México a Estados Unidos o de Estados Unidos a otro país, no estamos hablando de exportaciones nacionales. Estamos hablando del capital transnacional. La clase capitalista transnacional produce en un país, en muchos países, y exporta de un país a otro país. Así que son exportaciones de capital transnacional, de una zona a otra zona, de lo que es el sistema integrado. Pero volviendo al punto de que oficialmente el déficit comercial de Estados Unidos en exportación de bienes, pero el superávit en exportaciones de servicios. Y es precisamente por eso que los voceros norteamericanos declaran ahora que el objetivo de la renegociación del TLCAN es actualizar y modernizar el tratado, porque están buscando crear las condiciones para una nueva generación de globalización capitalista, ahora en base a la nueva economía digital. Es decir, bajar ahora las barreras nacionales al comercio digital y de servicios. Y por eso que están llevando a la mesa de renegociación de TLCAN grandes segmentos del TPP. Estados Unidos oficialmente rechazó el TPP, pero está agarrando el elemento principal del TPP y poniendo sobre la mesa de negociaciones del TLCAN. Igual lo que en inglés, la sigla en inglés, TISA, que es Acuerdo de Intercambio de Servicios. Además, hay que señalar de que México está en transición hacia la economía digital. La compañera lo dijo, de que las trabajadoras maquinadoras ahí tienen frente a ellos la computadora, la pantalla de la computadora. Entonces ahora son más de 20 mil millones de dólares los dos valles de silicón, silicio, ¿cómo se dice? En Guadalajara y en el DF. 20 mil millones de dólares. La clase capitalista transnacional quiere apoderarse de ese sector mientras surge en México. Se trata analíticamente de una mayor penetración de capital transnacional a México bajo estas nuevas modalidades de saqueo y de viaje. Mientras el telón de fondo crucial aquí es la crisis del capitalismo global. Pues nosotros, la clase trabajadora, estamos en crisis en muchos sentidos, pero en realidad ese sistema, el capitalismo global, está en crisis. La clase capitalista transnacional necesita en México, en Estados Unidos y alrededor del mundo, frente a la crisis de lo que podemos llamar la sobreacumulación, tienen demasiadas ganancias, no saben qué hacer con sus ganancias, necesitan abrir nuevos espacios para su propia expansión. ¿Y cómo lo van a hacer? Pues a una mayor expropiación de las tierras campesinas, de los sectores públicos que todavía existen, de las tierras públicas en Estados Unidos, los parques nacionales, Alaska, etc. Mayor privatización del sistema de educación, el saqueo aún más de la finanza pública, etcétera, etcétera, para así asegurar la acumulación frente a lo que es en realidad un estancamiento económico. Necesitan intensificar la explotación de la clase obrera, tanto en México como en Estados Unidos. Y es en este marco que la renegociación del TLCAN busca profundizar la reforma del Código Laboral en México para poder intensificar la explotación flexibilizada de las obreras y los obreros. Y también busca privatizar lo poco que aún queda del sector público en México y sobre todo aquí lo que queda del público del sector energético y buscando construir un integrado sector energético totalmente 100% privatizado para todo el área de América del Norte. Y también están buscando derrogar lo poco que queda del Estado regulatorio en ambos países. Ahora, una cosa importante aquí. No es que las élites políticas y económicas de México son vendepatrias del imperio norteamericano. Francamente es una perspectiva desfasada, porque más bien los grupos dominantes mexicanos forman parte de la élite transnacional y de la clase capitalista transnacional. Y son sus propios intereses de clase buscar intensificar la globalización capitalista en el área de América del Norte. Ahora, esta clase capitalista transnacional y las élites transnacionales en ambos lados de la frontera han librado, como sabemos, una guerra contra las clases obreras del área de América del Norte y ahora intensifican esa guerra bajo las condiciones de crisis, de hegemonía que ellos enfrentan. Y frente al impresionante repunte de las resistencias y de las luchas populares, no obstante todos los problemas que enfrentamos en esas luchas. Finalmente, el trumpismo representa una respuesta ultraderechista y neofascista a esta crisis de capitalismo global, es decir, a la crisis económica estructural y también a la crisis de legitimidad de los gobiernos. El gobierno mexicano enfrenta una crisis de su propia legitimidad y el gobierno norteamericano y muchos gobiernos alrededor del mundo ahora. El discurso de Trump es populista y nacionalista, pero el programa de Trump nada tiene que ver con populismo y nacionalismo. Es lo que dijo el compañero de Chicago, es neoliberalismo y capitalismo global en esteroides. Lo ha dicho bien. Trump necesita la retórica racista, anti-inmigrante, anti-México, etcétera, etcétera, como ya sabemos, para sostener una base social en segmentos mayoritariamente blancos de la clase obrera norteamericana, que ahora están experimentando una movilidad hacia abajo, una creciente inseguridad y desestabilización de sus condiciones de vida, laborales, sociales, etc., frente a la globalización capitalista y la crisis del capitalismo global. Así que el trumpismo busca canalizar esos sectores hacia una conciencia racista, imperialista y hasta neofascista de su condición, para que no lleguen a cuestionar el sistema o tener otra conciencia de esa realidad. Así que tienen que crear chivos expiatorios al mismo tiempo que construyan los grupos dominantes un estado policíaco en ambos lados de la frontera y a nivel global. La guerra contra los inmigrantes, los y las inmigrantes, la renegociación del TLCAN, el racismo de Trump, la escalada del neofascismo, todos son dimensiones entrelazadas de un sistema que está en crisis. Yo he analizado la economía global desde mi punto de vista de economía política y como sociólogo que soy, y viene otra gran, más que recesión. Y acordémonos que la crisis de legitimidad de ambos gobiernos, mexicano y norteamericano, y de hegemonía del sistema, y aquí estoy hablando del área nuestro, pero también a nivel global, nos abre espacios desde abajo y oportunidades de pasar de la ofensiva a de la defensiva a la ofensiva. Y por falta de tiempo, hasta aquí llegué. Gracias.
No, tenemos todo el día mañana para poder discutir los talleres, discutir las ponencias. Nos hemos dado ese tiempo. Queremos darle la palabra a muchos de los invitados especiales para que nos den su punto de vista y tienen algo muy importante que aportar. Quiero, antes de pasar la palabra, before our next speaker, I want to ask Valdemar to come up and say a few words about I think something that we'll all be very interested in learning and plugging into. Brother Valdemar Velasquez from FLOC.
Thank you, particularly to Susanna's presentation. Brother Scott, we'll be visiting you in Chicago when we launch the Use electronic cigarette boycott. What I wanted to leave you with, I assume that most of you are on some kind of list which will circulate. We've been laying the groundwork for this boycott since July. Our Constitutional Convention, farm workers, we had over 300 delegates that came from South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, of the 12,000 members that we represent, and they adopted a resolution to launch this abuse electronic cigarette boycott. That's the cigarette product of the future, tobacco product of the future for Reynolds America, which is owned by British American Tobacco. You heard earlier me speak about the global demand we have on these tobacco companies that help our brothers in Africa that are the leading undercutting wage people for the international tobacco supply. We were thinking about when do we really launch this? We need a few months to lay the groundwork. We got the official endorsement of the AFL-CIO, so that means we have access to all the Central Labor Councils in America. But we're working with our grassroots supporters across the country first, because we're going to have them lead the boycott struggle and have the Central Labor Councils join the local actions that they plan, because they're the crazies, the people that we rely on all the time. Because they don't give up for nothing. They don't let politics get in the way. And so we've decided when would be a good target date to launch this internationally, because the boycott that we designed, we looked at where most of the tobacco sales happen, and they mostly happen through convenience stores across America. And who is the distributor of the tobacco products for all tobacco companies, including Reynolds America? It's McLean Distribution Company. McLean Distribution is a subsidiary of Berkshire Hathaway, owned by you-know-who. That accounts for 1/3 of Big Tobacco's consolidated revenue. So the 4 convenience stores that we're targeting are 7-Eleven, Circle K, Wawa in the Northeast, and Kangaroo in the Deep South. The time to launch this boycott is going to be 10 years ago, Easter Sunday in 2007, after we opened an office in Monterrey, Mexico, to fight the first abuses of these workers that we newly represent. They were guest workers under the H-2A visa, and the first story we heard from all those workers is the extortion of money from the recruiters in Mexico. So we opened an office in Monterrey to intervene in the recruiting areas, to organize the members to fight these crooked recruiters back. And we got 2 of them fired, but we suffered the consequences. Easter Sunday, they bound and beat to death the manager and organizer of our office in Monterrey, Santiago Rafael Cruz. So next Easter Sunday in April is going to be the target day to launch this boycott in honor of Santiago Rafael Cruz. When they assassinated him, they were sending Flock a message: close our operations in Mexico or else you know what. But we renovated the office and renamed it the Santiago Rafael Cruz Justice Center. And we've been operating out of Monterrey to fight these abuses on the recruiting side of these workers that go to the United States. Just last week, we hosted the Mondelez, the Conferencia Break Tobacco Workers Union, a gathering that they had there to fight the movement of the cookie factory to Monterrey. And so we're going to be supporting those workers there, and we're supporting each other. So you all keep posted, because when we launch that, it's going to be a global boycott. 7-Eleven has stores all over the world. With our partners in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, especially Mexico, there's 7-Eleven stores in every city in Mexico. The workers may not understand boycotts, cultures in Mexico like in the United States, but everybody can understand, stay away from buying something at OXXO, but don't buy at 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven is going to yell at Reynolds America and tell them you got to do something to fix this problem. So we make them lose sleep at night and not us, and have fun in the meantime. Stay tuned and join us in the fight that's to come.
You know, I remember the time when you'd go to the AFL-CIO website and there were 30, 40 different companies and products to be boycotted. They meant nothing. They can adopt things and they mean nothing unless as Valdemar said, we use that opening and organize. And it's going to be not relying on anyone else but ourselves, so that these boycotts become what Al Rojas taught us a long time ago, and what Valdemar taught us when I first joined the movement in organizing the Campbell's boycott on the East Coast. It's building a movement. It's building a movement. And going to the community and organizing and bringing the unions on board. That's what we're going to do around these two campaigns. It's what we're going to do around Lexmark. It's what we're going to do around all of the issues that we've decided here. And our commitment and our pledge is that we're going to make good on that. You're on the list. You're going to be part of this effort. We're going to be in touch with you. We're going to be bugging the heck out of you, because we want to see that what we've decided here becomes a reality. Our next speaker is someone who is known to us in Northern California. He's a fighter for public education. He's the Vice President of the Sacramento Central Labor Council, Dean Murakami.
Thank you very much. I'm here to talk a little bit about what I know about, which is the privatization of public education, and particularly higher education, since I teach at community college. Privatization, I say, comes in two forms. One form I'm just going to quickly mention, because I think we all know about them, and these are the profiteers. These are the for-profit colleges. Just to give you an idea, in federal aid, they get over $16 billion in federal aid. It's a very profitable business. And what they do is they exploit students, some of the most vulnerable students we have in our society, put them in extreme debt, without a job, all for their own profit. Just to give you an idea, not too far away, down in San Diego, there's a Bridgepoint University. Bridgepoint University is an online education system, really exploits students. The CEO of Bridgepoint in 1 year made $20 million. Wow. And Corinthian colleges, the Corinthian College, before they went bankrupt, the CEO of Corinthian colleges, they were making over $3.5 million. Where does all that money come from? Yeah, federal tax dollars. Whose tax dollars are those? Those are your tax dollars. So, these are for-profits, but they're not private, they are publicly funded. That's what we're talking about. The other part of them are the reformers. And these individuals, this is where the uber-rich, corporate America, all of a sudden looked at higher education and says, hey, we need higher education to supply the workers for our workforce. We got to supply the 1% that keep them rich. And so what they wanted to do was to make sure, and what they want to do is to go ahead and take over higher education, colleges and universities, in the way they perform their jobs. Okay? And all of a sudden, you've got these corporate reformers. And who are they? All of a sudden, you've got all of these foundations all over the place. The Gates Foundation, Koch brothers with Alec, Lumina Foundation, Hewlett Foundation, Irvine Foundation, the Broad Foundation, Amundsen Foundation, Family Walton Foundation, Weingart Foundation. There's a lot of them. And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and that's a lot of corporate influence on higher education. And the key question we have is, this is the direction they want us to go. They've formed these work groups and they've formed these task groups to go ahead and change the face of public higher education. And this is the direction that they want us to go. Is that the direction that we want to go?
No.
Okay, and if it's not, can we actually change it? Do we have the power and the will and the ability to change it, to change all of that money influence, all that corporate influence? That's the issue. They have a very different philosophy, and just a few issues concerning the philosophy. I mentioned this in our workshop. Their philosophy is education must become economic specific. In other words, supply me jobs. So supply me degree holders to get the higher wage jobs. Supply me degrees and certificates, or certificate, so that we can fill in the lower skilled jobs. That's what they want, and that's what they focus on. So there's lots of money that's going toward making sure students get their degrees, and then also making sure that there's lots of certificate programs in colleges today. Okay. And that all comes from that. They want consumers of education, not students of education. Because they don't care about your education. They just want to make sure that they have the jobs that are there. Okay? They want to increase the number of degrees and transfers, and also CTE certificates that lead directly to their jobs. Social and cultural benefits of education, they don't care. It's a waste of their money. Get rid of PE, get rid of fine arts, get rid of anything that makes you better. Get rid of lifelong learning, they don't care. All it has to, education, higher education has to be directed toward the practical use of getting jobs to keep the 1% in business. That's what they want to do. They want performance-based funding. They want to streamline education, make it the cheapest possible. They want competency-based education. And remedial education is a waste of money for them. They just think they're not going to make it, they're not going to be, and our workforce, we don't need it. Try and get rid of it. Okay? So this has led to a number of proposals that have been out there. President Obama in 2009 set a goal of 1.5 million more college graduates with BA degrees by 2020. Where did that come from all of a sudden? Corporate America, okay? That's where it comes from. So in California, now we have this a goal of 1 million more degrees and certificates in community colleges by the year 2020. And California State University, Tim White, he just announced not too long ago that there's a goal of setting 100,000 more BA degrees by the year 2035. Where does this all come from? This is corporate America talking to us, right? So although it's laudable, we want people to graduate. I'm not here to tell you, I'm not here. No, we want people to graduate. But what that does is it sets your entire sight of what is a successful college. What is a successful student? What is a successful program? That you just graduate and you go on and get your degree and you transfer to a university for community colleges. That's all that success is to them, all right? That you go out there and you get that job. But education is a lot more than just getting a job, and that's why we need to fight this. So over the past several years, there have been a lot of programs that corporate America has tried to institute into California that I have fought for years and years and years.
Thank you, Dean.
So let me give you an example. So two-tiered student fees, so that the rich people can actually pay for the community college classes and exclude people who can't afford to pay, so they can get out, and the others can be left behind. We have MOOCs that are out there, massive open online college programs. Those have been horrible. We have the Accelerated Learning College, the Student Success and Support Programs. Strong Workforce is another one that's out there. Performance-based funding, like I said, BA degrees in community colleges, Achieving the Dream, Guided Pathways, the College Promise programs. Assembly Bill 705, which was just passed this past year, is going to restrict remedial education in community colleges. And then we have also this idea that just came out of the Chancellor's office, is Project Flow, which came from the governor's issuance of a mandate to community colleges that you'll have an exclusive online college in community colleges for state-run, run by the state. So these are things that we're fighting every day. And although, problem that we have with this is although we want people to graduate, in community colleges, the reality is that only 25% of our students actually graduate and go on to university. That means that there's the other 75% of which this type of program and foresight doesn't care about. They don't care about them at all. And the problem that we're running into is that all these programs focus on students who are going to be relatively successful anyway. These students that all of these programs focus on, they're all full-time students, okay? And they're all transfer level ready in English and math. Now if you take a look at the demographics of those students, they're all wealthy, and there aren't very many people that are students of color. Yes, exactly. And so all of a sudden, over $1 billion has been focused to get on those particular students to try and get them out quickly. But that leaves the other 75% students that don't get served well at all. And what we're trying to ask is our community colleges, are we there to serve that 25%? Or we're there to serve everybody and try to make sure that everybody gets ahead. And the thing that I'm always telling people is that even though a student doesn't graduate with a degree, even though they might not make it all the way. The fact that they're there, the fact that they can get better. Maybe they can get a couple of classes and they can do better at their job. They get a little bit higher pay. That makes them a better person. It makes for a better community. That's what we're fighting for. That's what's different. So this corporate exclusionary vision of higher education, it is a critical equity issue that we're fighting all the time. And it's one of the battles that we're in the middle of right now. Because we know, we in community college, we serve students with an incredible array of backgrounds and visions for their future. For those of us in community colleges, we teach people who are, we don't care whether they're rich or poor. We don't care whether they're black, white, yellow, brown, or red. We don't care if they're immigrant or native born. We don't care if they're documented or not. We don't care if they're college ready or not. We don't care if they're skilled or not. We don't care if they're smart or not. We're there to help everyone improve and get a little bit better and have a better life in California. That's our job. Now, those other 75% that we've talked about of students who aren't going to make it, we can't never call them failures, but that's what they do in the state capitol and other places. But they're not. They're not failures to me. They're going to be a part of our community. They're going to be in those small businesses and taking jobs there. They're going to be, they're part of our community. They're part of the fabric of our life. And that's what's important. So we want to make sure that all students are successful. And because of this, such as focus on just graduation degrees and certificates and all of that, these college reformers and unfortunately our community college system really does not fail to recognize one of the most critical barriers to student success for us. And for us in faculty, we see this every day. Those critical barriers are poverty, joblessness, food insecurity, homelessness, drug and alcohol abuse, abuses in violent environments, lack of childcare, mental health problems. If we want to really truly move the needle on student success in our systems, we've got to find the resources that address these societal, health, and mental issues.
That's right. That's right.
For colleges and universities, we can no longer pretend that we're an ivory tower,
Right.
separated from the community and the struggles that are surrounding them. We have to be part of the solution. We have to incorporate them and help them in all those ways. So we want all students to be successful. And it's tough to, when we talk about we want to make them better, we want to make sure that we appreciate the knowledge skills that they earn and learn, but it's not as easy to measure as just getting a degree or certificate. The last thing I want to say real quickly here is that the White House doesn't make this any easier, you know? These guys, they support this corporate reform and profit agenda. They're there to exploit students, and how can you recognize that more than by this tax plan that taxes students, teachers, all to help give tax breaks to billionaires and give us a $1.5 trillion deficit. I mean, does that make any sense whatsoever?
Not at all.
Yeah. And you know, the president's anti-immigrant and racist policies that are there, it hurts education, businesses, and the economy in reality. You know, when I'm teaching in community colleges, I see the stress in my students. You know, those that are immigrant students, those that might be DACA students, documented, not documented, dreamers, they're all affected by this. And that's why many of them don't re-enroll. Many of them are not re-enrolling in class. Many of them are not coming back to work. And what you're doing is by not having so many of these students and these people and workers not go to work, not go to school, you're relegating them to poverty. And poverty for generations to come. That's what we're doing. And so deliberately segregating a part of our community to poverty is just plain morally wrong. Now, in the United States, you know, we have about 1 million foreign students enrolled in colleges. And those applications are way down now, all because of these racist policies that the president shows. And it's clear that he does not understand, truly, the immigrant story in America. If you just think about this, 40% of the Fortune 500 companies in America were founded by immigrants. 40%. 68% of the new startup companies in Silicon Valley are being done by immigrants. If you think about Uber, Tesla, SpaceX, Instagram, WhatsApp, Google, eBay, Yahoo, Apple Dynamics, and many others, what do they all have in common?
Immigrants.
They're all founded by immigrants, absolutely. So if we're trying to shut the door on immigration, we have this negative policy about immigration, we're not letting immigrants achieve the highest that they can be in our society, we're going to kill this economy. He already wants to kill education, he wants to kill unions, but he's going to kill this economy all at the same time. And that's why we've got to fight. You know, we need to fight for a better America, we have to fight for a better Mexico, we need to fight for a better Canada. We have to fight these sorts of policies in the direction they are leading us. So it's time for us to stand up and fight these policies. It's time to have us not stop talking and let's do something. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean. Dean is somebody who has been an organizer, is an organizer, will continue to be an organizer, and he's been an inspiration to all of us who work in the California Federation of Teachers. Our next speaker is somebody who's constantly on the move, organizing, filming, interviewing. He is just following what he does during a week would make anybody tired and want to take a year's vacation. But that's the energy that he puts into this. Steve Zeltzer of the United Public Workers for Action and the Workers Solidarity Action Network. Brother Steve.
Thank you, Alan. And I think this is a very important conference, and I'm also glad to see that KPFK, the brother from KPFA, is streaming this live. Because this conference is not just for us.
KPFK did not ask him to do it.
He's doing it. There's a, what's the name of your group?
Informativo Pacifica.
Movimiento Pacifica. So let me finish. So, you know, that is part of the problem right here. That is part of the problem right here. Because KPFA and KPFK and these stations should be carrying this live.
Right.
This should be going all over the country. It should be going to Mexico so all working people can see this. This conference is not just about us. It's about the entire working class, really, of the world. That's what we're talking about. And that's what we have to unite. And it is being streamed, and that's a positive thing. That's a good thing, and it's going to be archived and people will be able to see it. So, we have a real attack on working class people in this country and the world, and you all know. They want slavery. The reports that we got from Juarez, from San Quintin, that's about slavery. But it's not just about their slavery, it's about our slavery in the United States. Because they want the same conditions here. They want to bust our unions, they want to privatize our schools, and they want to destroy everything working people have fought for in this country. They want to get rid of it, and that's what that tax bill is about. It's about privatizing everything, privatizing the parks, privatizing everything, and making the working class pay for it. Now, I don't know if people remember here in 1994 when NAFTA passed, but, you know, NBC had a program, one little program. What does NAFTA mean? So in 1994, you know what they said NAFTA meant for the people of Mexico? Guess what they said, NBC? They'll be able to get Walmarts. They'll be able to go to Walmarts in Mexico. They'll have more choice in Mexico. This is what the American people were told about how NAFTA was going to be good for the Mexican people. Now, of course, they do have Walmarts there, 3,000 Walmarts. And they have slave labor in the Walmarts. They have kids working in the Walmarts. So they have got Walmarts, all right, and it's been used to destroy working people in Mexico, to throw small business people out of their jobs. That's what these big stores have been done, like they've done in the United States. Now, it sickened me that this Trump, this racist, criminal bully, blames the Mexican people, the Mexican workers for NAFTA. That is a lie. It's the multinationals who brought us NAFTA. Those are the people who wrote NAFTA, not the Mexican people. It was written to just take the wealth of Mexico. It was written to get the land, to get the telephone company, to get the railroads, to steal it from the people of Mexico. And it's very interesting now because Carlos Slim, who was given telecom, guess what? He has also bought 10% of New York Times, but now guess he wants to sell it to AT&T. He wants to sell a telephone company. Now they couldn't do that in 1994 because there would have been mass opposition among the Mexican people. But really that's part of NAFTA. It's for the recolonization of Mexico, to make it a colony of the United States directly. Because US companies and foreign multinationals are buying up all of Mexico. That is who owns Mexico. And that's one of the reasons that we have to say cancel NAFTA. Because what we're saying is not just cancel NAFTA, have direct links between US workers and Mexican workers, but we're saying cancel NAFTA and return the wealth and land to the people of Mexico. It doesn't belong to AT&T. It doesn't belong to these US multinationals. It belongs to the people of Mexico. That's who it belongs to. That's a reason to cancel NAFTA. Another thing about NAFTA is this negotiation that they're having about NAFTA. They're not talking about ICE. They're not talking about the racist attacks, the murderous attacks on Mexican Americans and Latinos. You know, that's not on the table. All they're concerned about is business, capital investment. Who's going to control what? It has nothing to do with the real working people on both sides of the border. And the United States has blood on its hands. This government has blood on its hands because it is killed and murdered.
Si se escucha. Si se escucha. Oh, wait. You blew it up.
I guess I blew it up. Too hot to
Steve, don't blow this one up because we got another speaker.
Too hot to handle. Okay. So, this murder of our brothers and sisters in this country by the U.S. government has to stop. And we need a mass movement against the ICE. I mean, one of the things I think should come out of this conference, we need mass demonstrations of tens of thousands of people at the ICE Center in Los Angeles and San Francisco. We have to surround these ICE centers and say, you're not going to do this. The unions need to do this. The unions need to have mass demonstrations against ICE because ICE is aimed against working people. It's aimed at all of us. So that's something we have to have. Now the other thing is, it is really weird that California is right next to Mexico. First of all, California used to be Mexico. I mean, that's one thing that people aren't told. It used to be part of Mexico. I mean, Mexicans, it is still part of Mexico for Mexicans, but the other thing is, we working people in California, we're right next to the working people of Mexico, and there are no direct connections. You go to conventions in the California Federation of Teachers, the CWA, and others, there's no Mexican workers. Our brothers and sisters, and we're right next to each other. If we're serious about fighting these multinationals, we have to bring our unions and our brothers and sisters together at our conventions. We have to have direct links between brothers, and the same in the UAW. We need auto workers to come to these conventions. We need to build links so that when we fight and we go on strike, we shut down plants on both sides of the border. That's how we're going to beat these companies. That's how you always beat these companies. Now, the history of privatization is a seizure of wealth, but also it is a history of business unionism. Because in 1954, when the AFL-CIO was formed, it was a corporate merger, if you want. You have corporate unions, that was a corporate merger. That was the removal of communist and socialist militants out of the leadership of the unions, out of the CIO. And they kicked communists in Los Angeles out of unions, Southgate, which was an auto plant. They drove them out. What did they want? They wanted a corporate-type union. They wanted a union that was supporting the CIA around the world, building pro-corporate unions. That's what they wanted, and they were honest about it. We have to support pro-capitalist unions all over the world, including in Mexico. So there is a campaign now, and I've raised a resolution to open the records of the AFL-CIO, AIFLD, and find out what was the role of the AIFLD in Mexico City, where it was involved in breaking a strike of the Ford workers in Mexico City. That's an important question, because the Mexican Ford workers tried to build an independent union, and it was crushed. Unfortunately, we may learn with the support of the AFL-CIO and the AFLD. That is part of our history, and we need to get that history out so people understand what happened in Mexico is not something in Mexico. It is connected with this country and what this country does. People have to understand that history. Now, one of the things that I think is critical is that we have to have some goals for this conference. Because going away, as other people have said, and leaving this conference without any goals would be a failure. So one of the goals is building direct links. But the other thing is, we have to have a goal that in the Los Angeles area, in Southern California, we're going to remove all Driscoll products off all shelves of the supermarkets in Southern California. That action would break the back of Driscoll's. So we have to organize the students in the community and say no more Driscoll's on any shelf in any market, supermarket in Los Angeles and in San Diego. That kind of action Driscoll's understands. As has been said before, what they're looking at is their profit. And if they can't make profit in Southern California, they're going to cave. They're going to recognize that union. And we have to make sure that they do recognize that union, because that victory of the workers in Baja is a victory for all of us. If we can do it for these workers, we can do it for all kinds of workers in Latin America and in Mexico. We have to have a goal also of putting the Driscoll's boycott, the campaign for Driscoll's boycott, on the website of the California AFL-CIO and the United States AFL-CIO. One of the reasons we formed this Worker Solidarity Action Network is there are strikes and lockouts going on in this country. Nobody knows about them. National unions who represent the UAW don't know about it. They don't put it on their website. Why aren't our unions publicizing our own struggles? That's a question for us. Why aren't our own unions publicizing their own struggles? We have to demand that they start publicizing the struggles that we're involved in. When we're on strike and locked out, or we're fighting against slave labor in San Quintin. We need to demand that. Also, we need to build an international solidarity network. This is an international economy. And one of the things about international economy is you can't fight one capitalist and one multinational in one country. You have to have an international strategy. And there are brothers and sisters all around the world who understand that and want to do it. So we need to link up internationally, join with them, and build an international working class movement. And the last point is, the working class here do have a history in this country. They started May Day, 1886, when they fought for the 8-hour day. And by the way, that was immigrant workers who fought for the 8-hour day. Immigrant workers in this country fought for the 8-hour day. So the American working class has a responsibility to take the lead now, to fight, to unify workers in this country and around the world, and in that way we can bust the union busters. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Steve. Before our last speaker for the evening, I want to remind you that in your packets there were greetings. Steve mentioned international solidarity. Very, very important greetings were sent to this conference. I'm not going to read them. We were thinking at one point of interspersing the reading of these messages, but I want to highlight for your information. A very important greeting from the editors of Haiti Liberté. Haiti Liberté is the main Haitian progressive newspaper, sold massively in Brooklyn, published in Brooklyn, sold massively in Haiti. It talks about the need to fight the Trump administration's proposed change to the Temporary Protective Status, TPS, not only for Haitians, but for Central Americans, Salvadorans, Nicaraguans, and others who have been given protective status as refugees. The letter explains that the conditions have not changed in Haiti. It continues to be a slave labor for foreign markets. It's a destroyed country. It's a devastated country. And I was sitting with Baltimore. He said, you know what's prepared, what Mexico they're preparing? It's Haiti. It's Haiti, a devastation where there's no jobs, there's nothing. It's a devastation. People are forced to flee. And the conditions, if they go back, are so atrocious. The damage and the devastation wrought by the epidemic of cholera, without any reparations from the UN. It's shameful, but the sisters and brothers at Haiti Liberté join with us, demand and ask us to be part of their fight for TPS. I think we have an obligation tomorrow and to conclude that this issue of TPS, not only for Salvadorans, but in response directly to our sisters and brothers from Haiti. We have a letter, a very important letter from Argentina. The struggle of the Mapuche indigenous peoples for their land against a predatory U.S. multinational corporation in the region of Bariloche in Patagonia. Disappeared and assassinated one of the organizers of the resistance movement for retaining their land, their culture, their people, their identity, but namely their land. They are asking for us to support their struggle for truth and justice for the family of Santiago Maldonado, who was assassinated by the police, reminiscing the worst periods of the Argentine dictatorship that's coming up. I think we have an obligation. Perhaps Professor Robinson will help us draft a short statement around Honduras. We have a very important obligation. We have a statement and message from Venezuela asking that we oppose the policies of our government in terms of organizing and financing the Contra right-wing forces that are promoting and constantly seeking to overthrow the government, elected government of Maduro in Venezuela. We have a statement from the International Workers Committee, 32 countries involved, urging us and wishing us well, asking that we join with them in the international fights and struggles that they're waged worldwide. I'm not going to go into the whole list, and saying how important this was. I should add that the International Workers Committee was instrumental. We talked about this in the healthcare panel, instrumental in organizing solidarity with the healthcare workers in Palenque, Chiapas. 156 workers were fired for going out on strike, continuing on strike, and the international solidarity organized in particular by the IWC, but calling on other unions through the network, internationally healthcare unions. They were reinstated with back pay, and their union was recognized, and the medicines that had been removed from their shelves were back on the shelves. It was a huge victory, a lot of lessons for us, so that's another message. We have a message from Peru, from the major trade, all the 5 major trade union federations wishing us well and saying the devastation that's been caused by the Peru bilateral agreement, U.S.-Peru free trade agreement. Also a longer, very detailed report. It's in your packets. If you haven't seen, please, before you leave tonight, go to the table on the U.S.-Chile, one of the first precursors of what the free trade agreements were about. They're not about trade, they're about investment, breaking down any barriers to the unfettered penetration of capital and exploitation by the multinational corporations. So I urge you to look at these. Yes, the workers, we unfortunately weren't able to get the message from them. Steve explained to me, if you could just take a second.
They've been on strike.
These are workers. We need to send a solidarity statement, so we're going to mandate and entrust from the conference the organizing committee to send messages to Argentina, to send messages to all those who asked us, including the brothers and sisters at La Jornada who've been on strike. We did have a chance to speak to Brother Pavel, who called, who was hoping to send a message, and we will respond, because workers who are on strike and in struggle, they're us. It's us, as Steve pointed out so correctly. Our last speaker for the evening, before our last speaker, I want to, because sometimes people leave and we forget. I'm professionally an interpreter. I'm retired now, but I worked for 30 years as an interpreter for the International Labor Organization, UN-based. And I am so respectful of a profession that often gets forgotten, and it doesn't get its proper credit. The workers who have been with us from the beginning in violation of ILO labor conventions, by the way, because they should be taking half-hour breaks and not alternating the way they do. They are wonderful. We want to thank you so much for your valiant work. You're amazing. Without you, this conference wouldn't have been a success, couldn't have taken place. So thank you, thank you, thank you from all of us. And our last speaker is someone who inspired me a long time ago in the anti-war movement. His name, for many of us, was inseparable from someone who died, who was also our hero, Jerry Gordon. But Lafferty and Gordon would go way back to the Vietnam anti-war movement. If anybody knew how to build and put people in the streets in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands, it's our next speaker. And I think he has a few ideas of what perhaps we might be able to do. Brother Jim Lafferty, who has his president or director, I guess it is, of the National Lawyers Guild in Los Angeles, wonderful radio show on KPFK, and just a tireless fighter for justice and for economic and social justice against the war and for everything that's right, decent, and human in this world. Jim.
What? No, that's all right. Hopefully it'll make me shorter. Not shorter this way. Talk less. Well, you know, as I've been listening not only to the speakers tonight, but during the afternoon as well, and all the workshops, I think, and I come out of the law, I don't practice law anymore, but I'm a lawyer by trade, we've made our case. There's no doubt in my mind that we've made our case. And so the only question that's really left, having made the case and knowing we're right, is how, in fact, do we win these things? We've made the case for them here. How do we win these things? Now, there's very good news in that regard. And it's hard to think of good news in this kind of alternative or parallel political universe we find ourselves living in with Trump and neo-fascism and the corporate might and the more or less corporate control of the country. But there is actually, we have to remember this because it's been our strength forever. The people are with us. Think about it. They don't want that silly wall. They understand what's wrong with NAFTA. They don't want to see our DACA sisters and brothers deported, or their parents or any of the other immigrants. They don't want that. They understand we need more workers' rights. 23% of them is all that support this tax fiasco that's about to be supported. And you can go right down the line on climate change, on the endless war in Afghanistan. You take whatever issue you want, do a public opinion poll on it, Social Security, whatever it might be. And the majority of the people are with us. And if we lived in a democracy, we'd be in a hell of a lot better shape.
That's right.
But the majority of the people are with us. That's the good news. Now, it's going to be 2018 in a month. And my reading of history tells me that ain't good news. And the reason it isn't good news is because every time an election year comes around, if you study the history of movements that have succeeded, every time an election year comes around, our movement energy, too much of it gets sucked into believing that once again, if we just vote for one of those assholes, some piece of crumb from their cake will fall on our heads, and well, that's better than nothing. Am I right?
Yeah.
Jesus, I mean, how long does it take to learn the lesson that, and it didn't work before for that matter, but now, given the metastasis of the cancerous disease, which is Trumpism and all that goes with it, it's sure as hell not a sufficient piece of medicine to put our energies and think that's going to save us is the same thing that's failed us over and over and over again. To believe that, if Einstein were around, would say makes you either crazy or just plain stupid. We should have learned by now. But the good news is, when you think about it, that same history, what does that tell us? It tells us that time after time again, generally speaking, when we started out, when it looked hopeless, that we were able, and when we did trust in ourselves and not the politicians, we were able to build people's... That what?
Another boyfriend.
Don't speak slow. Dead battery. Dead battery. Dead battery. Se escucha. Shout out, Jim.
Come on, Nolan.
Yeah.
I'll just talk. Hey, so, think about it for a minute. See if I'm right. See if I'm not just, trying to feel good. The labor movement that's been talked about so much at this conference, it wasn't a gift from either of those capitalist parties. It was one because workers put their life on the line, for God's sakes. They got shot, they got trampled on, they sat in, they walked out, they struck. They struck. They continued to fight until they won some victories. The 8-hour day didn't come about because workers really got sorry for workers. You have the women's movement. This one always amazes me. Those same 9 men on the Supreme Court who woke up one day and said, Jesus, what have we been thinking all these years? Of course a woman has a right to choose. It didn't happen like that. That's only in Disney it happens like that. Hundreds of thousands of women and their supporters marched in the streets year after year, time after time, gave up their jobs, their livelihoods.
That's right.
Went to jail, sat in.
That's right.
Only then did those men realize they'd been schmucks all these years, and that in fact, of course, the woman had a right to choose.
Right.
And you go right down the line. The biggest one of all, because if there's one thing the capitalists don't want to give up, is their ability to exploit what the riches of Mexico, the riches of Iran, the riches of
Iraq.
Right?
Syria.
That war ended under Nixon and Ford. Republicans, hardly men of peace. And it only ended when it did because of the victories in the battlefield of the Viet Cong, and because we built the most powerful anti-war movement in this country, and with our sisters and brothers around the world, that the world had ever seen. So that it finally became impossible for any party, Democrat or Republican, to carry on the war.
That's right.
And so we learned the lesson that it shouldn't forget today, that the question we should always be asking ourselves, even in 2018, in an election year, is not who's sitting in the Congress, but who's marching on the streets of America. Because when we do that, we win. We win. Think of the DACA students. Talk about a tough fight. And in Los Angeles, I can tell you, we were so inspired. These young people would come out, sit in the street, get arrested, could have been thrown on a bus, and some of them were, and sent back to where they came from. And by God, though, most of them were back in the street the next day. And they kept coming back, and they kept coming back, until finally, even the deporter-in-chief had to make some concessions. Had to make some concessions for the DACA students. And if we're going to win this battle for immigrant rights, and the battles around the walls and all the rest of that stuff, it's going to be the same way. It isn't going to be because some politician did it for us. Oh, it may end up with a piece of legislation or a court victory. That's how these things get memorialized. But they only happen after we get in the streets, refuse to get out of the streets, and join together in massive numbers, demanding what we want and making it clear we won't quit until we've got it. There is one other little angle of this which does trouble me. And this always happened. It happened during the anti-war movement. It happened during the civil rights movement, which again was a movement run in the streets. And at the end of the fire hoses and what happened. And that is that we're not as united as we should. we too often let tangential matters or angels on the head of a pin that we can't agree how many there are keep us from uniting. Now, we don't have to form one grand party, but for God's sake, certainly we can get together in unity and action. Certainly we can put aside whatever differences we might have so that we're all together united in action. Whenever that's happened again in the movements, and there are often these, we win. We win. So it's simple. History has proven what works and what doesn't. History is on our side. And so if we remember our own history, if we repeat the kinds of difficult organizing, mass action efforts that we've done in the past, we'll have victories again. Our day will come again. And on behalf of that great day, I thank those that organized this conference because it's a hell of a way to get that fight started.
We're going to get the bus. The bus at what time? Take it back to the hotel. Get on the bus. So thank you, everybody. We invite you to please join us tomorrow at 9:30 at the Hall of the United Steelworkers so that we can continue and we can concretize a lot of the action plans. A lot of what we said was wonderful. Tomorrow is D-Day. Tomorrow is the day where we can make these things a reality. Thank you. Good night.